her heavy automobile and shooting shrapnel, flames, and choking smoke through the sedan. Remarkably, Margaret Kagan survived the devastating blast almost unscathed. As a lead investigator, I worked for months with an excellent team to build the case against Richard Kagan, Ronald Petkus, and Mellon. While I had no doubt Richard Kagan was ultimately responsible for the attempted murder of his wife, I had to prove it. And I needed Petkus's cooperation to make the case against Kagan airtight. After several months of hard work, we obtained enough evidence to get an arrest warrant for Ron Petkus. We arrested Petkus on a beautiful April afternoon, just a few minutes after he drove away from the Hell's Henchman clubhouse in Chicago. He was in the passenger seat of a compact white pickup truck that was driving through a neighborhood of brick houses and small businesses on the near southwest side of Chicago. I was in the passenger seat of the car following right behind him, with at least a dozen additional units right behind us. I couldn't help laughing as we tailed Petkus because he was so huge that the little white truck leaned heavily to his side as they sped along. Truly a big Ron. We came to a four-way stop at a quiet intersection. I decided to arrest him there rather than risk them getting to a busy street and radioed to my team that we were taking him down now. We peeled out into the intersection and pulled in front of the truck, boxing him in with cop cars in front and back. I jumped out of my car, sprinted to Petkus, and stuck my black .40 caliber pistol in his face through the lowered front window of his pickup. I grabbed him by his T-shirt and yelled, "Police, get out of the car!" He opened the door without hesitation, and I dragged him face down onto the ground. Agents swarmed around us. I told Petkus he was under arrest for attempted murder in the first degree while I worked to cuff him. True to his name, he was so big I needed 3 sets of handcuffs to fasten his hands behind his massive back. I searched him and pulled a loaded 6-shot .38 caliber revolver from the back right-hand pocket of his jeans. Together with several other agents, I was able to bring Petkus to his feet, walk him over to my government sedan, and secure him in the back seat. I got into the front seat and turned to look at him. I told him who I was and asked him about the revolver in his back pocket. He calmly told me if he'd known I was a cop, he would have shot me. "No, you wouldn't," I told him, "because I would have shot you first." To my surprise, Petkus burst out laughing. I knew he meant what he said, and he knew I meant what I said. And based on our mutual willingness to shoot each other, we built a highly productive professional relationship. In my 27 years as a special agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, I investigated many sinister bad guys. Ron Petkus and Richard Kagan are just one story out of many that shaped my unusual career. In 1987, I was one of the first women hired as an ATF special agent. Soon after, and unexpectedly, I became the first woman to win the coveted Top Gun award for being the best shot in my class at the ATF Academy. I fought to find my way as a new agent in an office that had coldly driven out the first female agent shortly before I arrived. Not long after, I had to come to terms with my mother's terminal brain cancer. As a young agent, I worked with behavioral profilers at Quantico's National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime, who convinced me to stick to my guns and changed my career. I investigated a number of high-profile bombings and arsons, several of which resulted in lengthy trials. I extracted confessions from deadly serial bombers and hunted suspects on the National Church Arson Task Force. In addition, I worked Secret Service details, protecting Presidents Reagan, Bush, and Clinton, and spent weeks protecting foreign diplomats at the United Nations in New York City. I arrested vice lords and gangster disciples in the heart of Chicago's most desperate neighborhoods. And at a time when rivalries and turf wars could cripple major investigations, I willingly worked with outside agencies. Many years later, I came out on top in a bureaucratic power struggle. And despite my dedication to a demanding career, I went on to adopt a little boy from Russia as a 44-year-old single mother. I thrived in a violent world of murderers, gangsters, and bombers. I learned why people shoot, burn, and blow up each other. I've seen terrible things. A father's body torn open by shrapnel from a pipe bomb, a mother's terror for the life of her young teenage son, and the bleakness of our inner cities. I know how and why people buy and sell guns and drugs. I know they commit crimes for money, power, sex, and revenge. I can find them, arrest them, and help prosecute them. As a girl and young woman, I didn't aspire to this career. It wasn't even an option when I was growing up. But beginning in the 1970s, new federal law